Set blasters on full.
What's up guys, Grab here with another review, and today we're going to check out the C3PO and R2D2 action figures from Mafex. And as you can see by that starting clip, it's going to be an interesting review. So as always, we'll start off with the packaging, and Mafex has definitely done a better job with the packaging this time than their Stormtrooper and Darth Vader's. Much more interesting packaging. It's not kind of just that default Star Wars toy packaging. And I do like what they've done with that. You have some nice pictures up front here. You also have this nice big window so you can see the figure and all the accessories. And on the side of the box, you've got a nice big Star Wars logo, as well as a picture of both of the figures and the name of the figures, as well as some logos down bottom. And on the back of the box, you've got some close-ups of the different accessories, as well as a big picture of the two figures and some information that is unfortunately in Japanese. The other side of the box has another Star Wars logo and a different picture of the two figures, and the top of the box just has a large Star Wars logo. And now I'll start with the accessories, and you do get a nice little stand in the box, which is perfect because the C3PO is practically impossible to stand up on its own. And the base of the stand does have 3 holes, so you can position the actual stand itself in 3 different positions if you want. You also get this nifty little Princess Leia hologram figurine, and it is just hollow translucent plastic, but I think it's a really nice addition to the package. And it's got a flat bottom on it, so unlike the C3PO, it is fairly stable. You also get an extra hand for C3PO, and this is kind of the gripping hand that you would use with the communicator, which I'll show you in a little bit. The paint on it is a little bit sloppy in some areas, but it really doesn't matter since he's kind of got an overall weathered look to him. And the sculpt on it is pretty good. There's really not too many issues with this. And you also get this little communicator, which is the one he was using in the Death Star. Really nothing spectacular about this, but it is a nice little accessory. Sculpt on it's okay, so is the paint. And onto one of the cooler accessories, and this is the drink dispensing arm that pops out of the top of R2D2 in the Jabba barge scene. You have some soft plastic here for the tubing, and that's translucent plastic. You have some good sculpted details in here as well, and the paint on it is also pretty good. And to install this, you just have to pop the head off of R2D2, and you push on the little circle that's in the top there. Give it a good push, it is in pretty good, and that'll pop right out. And then you can just put the arm right into that hole, and you're all set. And you just pop the head back on, and he's good to go. And last but not least, you have the actual bar that was added to R2D2 for the Jabba barge scene. You can see there's some good sculpted details on the legs of this, but the highlight of this by far is these cups. I think they're great as far as detail goes. I also like that they added some green plastic in there, so it makes them look like they're filled with some green fluid. You can see there's also some details on the top of the bar. The bottom of it is just plain though. And this just rests on top of R2D2's legs. You just place it over top, and that's pretty much it. It's good to go, and he is ready for Jabba's barge. So now check out the sculpt and paint on the figures, and we'll start with R2D2, and I think they did an amazing job with this figure. Everything is sculpted into it, great detail on the paint. I really love the blue they use. I love the weathering and dirt that they added to him. You can see just how detailed the body is on him. Actually, everything is really detailed. Legs look great. You can see all the different little pistons and the little panels. Absolutely great job on this figure. They even have these little tubes coming out, and that's a soft plastic, and even the bottom of the feet is nice and dirty, and I love that the third foot just retracts right out of the body just like it should. You can see all the nice little details on there as well, and you even have moving wheels on these, and it is just a really well done figure, I have to say. Top of it looks great as well. Again, that blue is just amazing. I'm really impressed with this figure overall. And now check out the C3PO, and right away you can see the eyes look great. It's got a vac metal finish, so it looks super metallic and glossy. Some really nice weathering and corrosion effects on here. Great job with the sculpt. Lots of really nice details. The abdomen looks great with all different colored wires in there. There's also some great little nicks and dings in the body here. They just did a phenomenal job with the sculpt and paint on this. And again, that vac metal finish just looks amazing and really puts this thing over the top as far as looks go. This really is just a gorgeous figure. It'll look great on the shelf. Really no complaints at all with the sculpt and paint on here. I really love it. I think they did a phenomenal job. And nice treading even on the bottom of the feet. And again, just nothing to complain about with the actual sculpt and paint of this figure. And now check out the articulation on the two figures, and we will start with R2D2 again. And you can rotate the head completely around. And again, that's really all you would expect from R2D2 anyway. Same thing with the legs, those do spin completely around, but you're really not going to expect much more than that, and that does go for both of them, of course. And you do have some articulation at the feet, and they really just rotate forward and back. That's about the extent of it. Again, really not looking for a whole lot out of R2-D2. You also do have that same movement on the third foot, and again, that does just retract inside the body and you pull it right back out. And again, that's about the extent of the movement you're getting on the foot, which is completely fine for R2-D2. All the articulation you would expect from him. So I'll check out the articulation on the C3PO, and the head does move back and forward a decent amount. The head and neck are separately articulated, and this thing just keeps falling apart on me. This is the most frustrating articulation video I've ever done. I've never had so many issues with this figure. Let me just try to get through this, and I'll show you some of the other issues after this. So again, the head and neck do have two separate joints. You can move them forward and back a decent amount. You get some decent tilt left and right. You do have full rotation on the head. The shoulder area as well is separately articulated, and that does rotate around the torso there. You do have to move the arm a little bit sometimes to get some of that additional rotation. It doesn't look like it goes all the way around, but I couldn't tell without the thing falling apart on me. The arms do go up about that far. They only go down about that far, so you can't really get them too close to the side, which isn't that big a deal with C3PO. You can rotate the arm. The elbows don't bend that much, but again, C3PO, you're not expecting them to. Figure does have swivel and hinge wrists. You can rotate it completely around, and you do have a decent amount of hinge up and down. Do have an ab crunch here. You have a little bit of side to side, not a huge amount. Again, C3PO, not expecting it. You do have some rotation. Not really any rotation at the waist though. You do have some movement at the waist, and you can see you do have a decent amount back and forward. You do have a little bit of a gap in the front though if you go all the way back. The hips are super loose. The legs pop out constantly. It really is a struggle to get this thing to stand up. And there's not a whole lot of movement there, but you can just really see this is just a super frustrating figure. You do have a little bit of kick forward, hardly any. You do have a lot of kick back. Leg is, oh, look at that, the hip popped off. That's actually the first time that's happened, but I'm not surprised. Let me pop that back in. You do also have a little bit of rotation there, as you can see. Not a whole lot, but plenty to get a decent pose if you can actually get them to stand up. You can get a little bit of bend on the knees. They go way forward, which is weird and pretty useless. The ankles are pretty well articulated. You have a decent amount of range down and up on those. There is no actual rotation on the ankle itself, but you do have kind of a rocker pivot, and you have a decent amount of pivot on that as well. And again, loose joints, so just be careful because that foot will pop off fairly easily, just like every other joint on this figure. So now check out the scale and height of the figures. The R2-D2 stands at right around 3 5/8 of an inch high. And the C3PO stands at just a hair under 6 1/8 inches tall. And here we have the two droids standing in between the Mafex Vader and the Mafex Stormtrooper. And you can see the scale is actually pretty good on these. I really have no complaints whatsoever with the scale. So now let's get to the complaints, and first my overall impression. Overall, I have to say both these droids look absolutely amazing. The C3PO, especially with that vac metal finish, looks phenomenal. The R2-D2 as well looks really good. I have no problems with the R2-D2. I think it's an amazing figure. The C3PO, on the other hand, while it looks great, it is a piece of garbage. The joints on this thing are absolutely horrendous. They just do not hold anything into place. I have never seen an action figure fall apart so much, so easily as this thing. Not to mention it's practically impossible to stand because of the super loose hips. I'm glad they gave me a stand with this thing because that's the only way I can imagine being able to display this thing in a case. It really is just one of the most frustrating action figures I've ever had. So in the end, I really don't know if I can recommend this set. I mean, you do get an amazing R2-D2 with this, and it's really hard to find a nice R2-D2 in this scale without spending a ton of money. It might be worth it to buy the set just for the R2-D2, depends on how bad you want one. The C3PO, while it looks great, it is just horrendous, and you might be able to get it into a pose and get it to stand up, but don't even bother touching it again unless you just crazy glue the whole thing together, which kind of defeats the purpose of an action figure. So take it for what it is. Buy it if you really want an R2-D2, but beware, you will be super frustrated with the C3PO. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope you learned a little bit about these figures. I also hope you liked some of the new techniques I'm trying out. And if you do, throw me a like, and as always, please subscribe to the channel for more reviews. Thanks for watching.